Hello and welcome to this edition of the G24 Newsroom, your program in English to discuss the top stories of the past month of May. We are going to do a scan and travel the world starting from Gabon, Africa and the worldwide world. Now let's go straight to our top stories. In Gabon politics, President Ali Bongo Ondimba went on surprise field visits during the month to see the advancement of many urban public works. Also, politics in France, the newsroom will discuss on Elizabeth Borne and what is expected from the government in France. In Africa, the AFCON 2023 qualifiers, the Gabonese Panthers are getting ready for DLC presently in France. Well, stay tuned, we'll be right back. Politics in Gabon during this month of May, President Ali Bongo organized some field visits in the capital through the streets of Libreville and Ovendo. The head of state went to touch the reality of the rehabilitation works of urban roads. More in this report. New and expected excellent field visit for the President of the Republic. Like last Tuesday through the streets of the capital, President Ali Bongo went again to take the pulse of the construction sites being executed.
We are really happy. We needed the road. We thank Mr. President for what he did for us. It is very good. The road is clean.
A few months ago, these road sections, which are now passable in all seasons, were in an advanced state of deterioration. Since the first visit of the President here, a transformation is perceptible. In Libreville, as well as in Ovendo, where the presidential escort passed, many roadsides have opened up to modernity. Several of these difficult to access neighborhoods to the great joy of the populations. The President's visit today is a strong signal that confirms his determination to accelerate the pace of work and the necessary rehabilitation in Libreville, Ovendo and Akonda. To discuss about it, I received Boris Ondo, political analyst and president at the African Youth Action Foundation. Hello, Boris, are you there?
Hello, Jan.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. Thank you for having me again.
No worry. So let's go straight to this information. We are president on the field. He went to see what is actually going on about the public works in the capital. How should we interpret this field visit of the president?
Well, I mean, this is the most normal thing for a head of state to do, to make sure that the work of his agenda is carried on and go on the field and check what is happening. So the president has done what normally one of his duties apart from protecting the people, making sure that their needs and the economics are met. He's also in charge of making sure that his agenda moves forward. So this is nothing normal for a head of state. But it can also be interpreted that we are ahead of 2023 elections. Some of those appearances might be seen as first steps into announcing his intention for the upcoming elections and announcing his will to not only continue the work that he has undertaken, also make sure he better for the next years. So several interpretations can be put in this outings the president just made.
Okay, Mr. Ondo, do you think it is a statement of continuity for you, because we know that the next presidential elections are coming? Now it comes out and it moves in the street. Is it a kind of statement for the elections to come?
Well, as I said, we cannot deny that the 2023 elections are ahead, and the president is a politician nonetheless. And if elections are coming, a good politician might want to now prepare his instrument, prepare his tools and element for the upcoming elections. But as I said, it did what the first duty of a president is, make sure that the work on the field is being done. But we cannot also deny that as a politician, he knows how to do his work. 2023 being ahead, this will also be interpreted as him showing his moves ahead of the electors.
Okay, Boris, now we're moving from Gabon, we go to Equatorial Guinea, where on Wednesday was opened in Malabo the extraordinary summit of the African Union, a meeting that began with the meeting of the Executive Council of the organization, while the foreign ministers will have the task of preparing the two summits of Friday and Saturday like today. The humanitarian situation in Africa, the fight against terrorism, and also the regime changes considered unconstitutional by many heads of state of the continent will be the topics discussed during this extraordinary meeting. According to the UN, 115 million people in the 15 most affected African countries need assistance, while the continent is facing several crises, including health, climate, food, and security. Moreover, a donor conference will be organized to mobilize funds for more than 30 million refugees and displaced persons. Well, Boris, Malabo is hosting two summits, the Extraordinary Humanitarian Summit and the Pledging Conference and the Extraordinary Summit and Constitutional Changes of Governments in Africa. What makes those events special ones?
Well, as you have rightfully introduced it, Ian, this summit is especially important because of the humanitarian needs of all the displaced, internally displaced people and refugees in Africa right now. As you said, according to reports, more than 157 million people are internally displaced and refugees in Africa, going from north to central, east and west. So this big number of people is only waiting for heads of states and governments to fill up their streams to make sure that they get the assistance that they need to be, taken care of. So that makes this really important in these days in Malabo.
Okay, but now what are the expected outcomes from these two summits now in 2022 as we are struggling after the COVID-19? What can be expected from that?
Well, actions, action, and actions. That's what can be expected from these summits. Summits are but to speak, to set up strategies, find collaborations and cooperations, to set up agreements between people and leaders who are supposed to act, to make pages actually come. What is really expected after those pages, after those agreements, after those talks, to heads of states and government into action, make sure everything said is actually implemented. So what is it expected? Just as the African Union has already started with a normative solution with the Convention 2009 and other related declarations, we need more actions to make sure that the operational part of it is also covered. Honors to come up with assistance and the funds needed for the action to be implemented. Since the declarations were made 11 years ago, we have not even reached up to half of what was pledged 11 years ago. So we need more actions and the commitments to be respected for the agendas to be carried out.
Okay, there are a lot of things to say about it, but now we are moving, let's move to France. The composition of the new French government is finally known. This Friday, May 20, 2022, Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne delivered a list of her ministers, nearly a month after Emmanuel Macron's re-election as president and 3 weeks before the June legislative election. This new government casting, conducted by a Prime Minister, was closely scrutinized, and it was finally announced this Friday, a government that should then expand, including with secretaries of state in early summer in light of the results of the legislative vote. So, Boris, we are still with you on this matter now in France. What can you say about Ms. Borne, and do you think that the strategy of Emmanuel Macron is working through her?
President Macron had a strategy to reform things. He had a plan of reform. And before the resignation of former Prime Minister, President Macron had announced that he's looking for a woman that has a West Wing and environmental credential. So I believe that that it is born with the experience she had had, having several times since 2017 minister at President Macron's government. She has been in transport industry, she has been in a labor ministry, she has been in the ecology ministry. In that background, I believe that coupled with the intention of President Macron to now have a woman as a prime minister, that background has served as very instrumental to her nomination.
Okay, but what can we say about a government? Do you think that the choices that she made are good, that those people are able to really bear, to support the policy of Emmanuel Macron?
Well, she's a very good negotiator. The former woman prime minister at the time of François Mitterrand, Ms. Christine, has commented that Ms. Bourne is a very, very thin and tactical negotiator, and she can put people together. And I think this is one quality that President Macron has in her in order to build all the alliances that he needs to do right now to have the majority in the upcoming of the legislative, because he needs a good majority of the parliament. So I think he has picked the right woman, and she has made sure that she brings together the team that can accompany her and help her really hit that target that the president is trying to hit.
Okay, now let us talk about society. In the USA, an 18-year-old gunman on Tuesday fatally shot 9 children and 2 adults at the Texas elementary school. The UN Secretary General expressed his shock through a statement. Vanessa Tsugu has more information in this report.
The gunman opened fire at Robb Elementary School, which teaches children aged 7 to 10 in the city of Uvalde, before he was killed by law enforcement, officials said. The 18-year-old suspect had a handgun, an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, and high-capacity magazines, investigators say. He is suspected of shooting his grandmother before the rampage. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres was deeply shocked and saddened by the heinous mass shooting in an elementary school in Texas, the United States said his spokesman on Tuesday. Stefan Dujarric, the UN spokesman, said in a statement, "It is particularly heart-wrenching that most of the victims are children." In the statement, he added that the Secretary General extends his heartfelt condolences to the families and loved ones of the victims and to the entire community. Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District Chief of Police Pete Arredondo said the shooting began at 11:32 local time on Tuesday, and that investigators believe the attacker did act alone during this heinous crime.
To discuss about this very sensitive topic, I received Jean-Cédric Obam-Eman, a defense and security expert. Welcome, Mr. Obam-Eman.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Just fine. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, as we just saw in this report, this Texas shooting and the one in Buffalo almost 2 weeks ago, 27 school shootings have now taken place so far this year in the USA. What is going on, and what can we call this? Can we call that hatred crimes, or what is going on in the state right now?
Okay, basically, you got to understand that America is a state where we got a category of people they call the white supremacists. This is actually an action. Let me think about, first of all, the attack in Buffalo, New York, okay? There, the gunman was also 18 years old. He was a partisan of a white supremacist. What is white supremacy? White supremacy is an ideology in America where white people believe to have to be a superiority over ethnic groups in the United States. I mean, over African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanics, etc. Now, the killing in Buffalo can be interpreted as hatred because of white supremacists hate Jewish communities. They had African Americans. They had Hispanics.
They had non-white people.
Exactly. So what's happening there? What's happened with the case I've just mentioned, Buffalo? The guy can be labeled as a terrorist. Why? What is terrorism in this case? Because white supremacy is an ideology. Terrorist organizations have an ideology. They have political goals they want to reach. In the case of white supremacy, what they want to reach is this. They want America for whites only. And the ideology comes from European colonialism that believed that, European colonized Africa, the Americas, and of course, Asia. So it can be labeled a terrorist act, also hatred crimes. Now, what about this week attacks? What's happened this week attack? It's difficult to label it terrorism. Of course, I'm tempted to call it terrorism. Why? Because it's what they call in terrorism studies lone wolf cases. It's an individual who might have been exposed to radicalization websites, to violence or violence extremism, and decide to do something the world will remember. He wanted people to remember. He wanted to do something, and we are talking about him. This is what he wanted. Now, the targeted people were not Hispanics. They were everybody. So we
They
cannot.
said it was a very poor community.
Yeah, and we cannot actually call it a white supremacist act. It's difficult, but we can call it we call it an act of criminality. Because we got to distinguish between a terrorist act and an act of criminality.
Okay, but now we have numbers that say that in 2021 there were more than 600 mass shootings. In 2019 there were like 417, and as we go back there were less kind of acts, and now we move in 2022, we have already now about 27. People say it's going to be worse in 2022 than it was before. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's not surprising. We got to understand, what is America? America is a culture where you can legally buy
guns,
a weapon or firearms. There is a figure from the University of Geneva that demonstrated in 2007 that for a population of 100 people, we have 85 guns. Okay. Now in 2018, the figures exploded. It was like more than 120 weapons or firearms per 100 people. It means in every home, single place, home of every American, we have a weapon.
At least
A weapon. What does it mean? It's a culture. In fact, it's a violent society. But I believe they can acquire security through arms. This is what's happening there. And I want to make you a little representation of what it is if I take a mental map. Suppose this is America, okay? Yeah. We got the east side, the west side, the north side, and the south side. We got, if you see, there is an organization, they call it Gun Violence Archive. If you see you go there, you will see the map of these gun shooting in America. You will see red spots. You got right here, this part, for example, you got on the east side, you got in Buffalo, the case of, in New York, you got Washington, you got Pennsylvania. Now you come to the south side, you got Florida, Georgia, where you got a lot of sports, the red one. When you go to the east side right here, you see California, Los Angeles, exactly, you see Arizona, but something is special. We have in America what we call whitened states, like what?
In the middle.
They are in the center.
In the center,
and
yeah.
On the north part and the center. For example, here you got Colorado, you got Wyoming, and you got Nevada right here. And surprisingly, the attacks, the gun shooting in these states are few. They are few. It's not a surprise because it's what we call the whitest or the whitened part of America.
Yeah.
Definitely. Of course, it is a national problem and a problem of security, but
okay.
Nothing
we don't have enough time.
Okay.
So we thank you, Mr. Obama. We hope to have you again talking about anything related to security on our session Gabon 24. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, so now let us talk about sports. In Africa, the preparation of Patrice Neveu's men is currently underway in France as Gabon, the Panthers of Gabon, will take on DRC on June 4 for the AFCON 2003 qualifiers. The absence list has major names on it, with the likes of Alevina lately injured, but the return of the beast, Aaron Apinango, will play an important part against the Leopards of Cedric Bakambu. More with Akinenge.
The Panthers of Gabon joined on May 25th, 2022, and the den is now half full. The national coach has almost found his group, apart from those who are still in concern about the last day of the league, as Denis Bwanga from Saint-Etienne in the rescue operation against Auxerre. The captain Bruno Ekolemanga joined the group as well as Andre Biogo Poko and Joan Obiang. The training session includes gym preparation and a lot of tactical work to create synergy and cohesion between players who now have to connect appropriately, noting the absence of three major players, Aubameyang Pierre-Emerick, Mauro Lemina and Ibrahim Dong. They were numerically replaced by young Panthers who will honor their first convocation, each had they Alain Doma Colino, Ekome Jacques and the young Xavi. As a reminder, two withdrawals were recorded, Mai and Alevina. In the first was replaced by Eneme Ella. Patrice Neveu did not call anyone to make up for Jim Alevina's absence, noting that the training program consisting of 6 days in France before relaying to Kinshasa, where the Panthers will challenge the Leopards of Congo for the first day of the qualifiers for the AFCON Total Energies 2023, and 4 days later, on June 8, they will face Mauritania.
Let me welcome our sports expert from the house, Mr. Akinenge. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Thank you very much for welcoming me once again to this wonderful program.
That's amazing. So the Panthers of Gabon, as we saw during this element, are getting prepared in France and about to take on the DRC. What can we say about this preparation, first of all, but also about this new confrontation with DRC? As we know, we had some situation with them.
Some beef, if we can call it that. It's going to be, once again, it's the first call-up, first meeting of the boys after the last edition of the African Cup of Nations. So I think the DRC is a great caliber, is a big team, and with the likes of players like Cedric Bakambu, who has been performing very well in Marseille, leading players. This confrontation is more than an emotional confrontation. It's not only on the pitch, it's also off the pitch, because we know we are brothers. Obviously, DRC Congo and Gabon are countries that are sharing a border, so we are brothers, and we have this this proper competition between ourselves, and I'm sure it's going to be very, very challenging.
Okay, now we stated in this element that people like Lemina, like Dong, like Ali Vina, and now Aubameyang, who is retired, won't be there.
Yeah.
What are the chances of Gabon?
No, it's a big blow for us, not having our major players who played important part during the African Cup of Nations, as we mentioned. But fortunately, we'll be having Aaron Bupenza, who's been top performing very well with his club in the Emirates, and it's going to be very painful for us not having main players like Ibrahim Dong, who really is still not called. Now the coach say that it's a problem that he doesn't have a club, he's not yet registered, and then we cannot call a player who's not registered. As we know, we know very well that Ibrahim Dong is a player that's been impacting the national team very well, and then Alevina, who's
it's
been
long
injured.
he hasn't been called.
Yeah, but the problems before his call-up, it was about this attitude.
Do you think we can have a kind of settlement between the coach and...
But yeah, the coach said that he doesn't have a problem anymore with him, but it only wants him to be registered in a club, because now his contract has reached an end. We could not call a player who's not registered with a club. So we just hope the chances of Gabon to perform well against the DRC are going to be very good, because we have the return of the beast, Aaron Apinango, who's back in form. So this is something that will play an important part in this game with Gabon.
Okay, we're talking about the retirement of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
Yeah.
I know this subject, this matter is quite sensitive, but what can you tell us about it? Some people say we'll come back. Others say it's done. It's only 32, 33?
Yeah, 32.
32. Do you think like it's very serious? He won't ever come back?
But first of all, to talk about the retirement of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang from the national team, we have to look first at what are the reasons why Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang would want to...
People don't know.
People
don't know.
So there are so many things. Maybe because at the personal level, we were discussing with some other journalists and sport journalists in Gabon. We were talking about that it's a message that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang also wants to send to the federation, because he's been talking about the misbehavior, the mismanagement that have been happening in the federation not only also in the sports in Gabon, like as a whole. Maybe it's a way for him to call on leaders for them to behave a certain way, because I'm sure he's going to come back. I'm sure that I'm determined that he's going to come back. Maybe this is a way for him to send a message.
Put pressure.
Yeah, to put pressure on things. If there are no change, he will not come back. Obviously, he hasn't been speaking on that yet. These are only speculations that we are applying to it. But then he's going to be missed. He's going to be missed. He's one of our top goal scorers. And as we are calling, we saw many media from around the world mentioning that he's the best Gabonese footballers of all times. And this is something that will be not denied. No disrespect to all former players and no disrespect to major players who
Now, coming back to Gabon here, the National League has resumed. Will we see a player from the league called up before the end of the qualifiers? What do you think about it?
It could be possible, because this league is pushing up until June. That's where the league is going to end. So maybe we will have next matches in the few coming months for this qualifiers. I'm sure we can find players in this national football league, because we've seen players performing very, very well, especially certain boys playing maybe at AS Pelican or others at USB who are very well performing. And this is something that is going to be very, very important. I'm sure Patrice Neveu will find a man in this league.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Akenenge, for coming. See you maybe next month.
Yeah, for sure, I'll be around.
Okay, so we have reached the end of this edition of the G24 Newsroom. You can still follow us on social networks. And don't forget, life is only what you make it. See you soon. Goodbye.